Roccat, I'm actually just even more proud of you because you've made something exceedingly unique here. Good afternoon, welcome to Tortoise Tech. If you're new here, my name is Reese Peace from KFC or WookieXXXL. Next up to bat from the Roccat is the Vulcan 212. This is an exceedingly unique keyboard with some of their unique products put into it as well, being their all-new switch, which is one of the main sort of draws I think for this thing and why I say it's so unique. The keyboard itself is pretty thin, which is quite unique in of itself for mechanical keyboards. If I put down the kickstands, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, the wrist rests and everything attached. You can see how slim a profile and how flat a deck they have created, which is really nice because it's going to be exceedingly easy to clean, one of the main pulls of a flat deck keyboard. Now, something that might not be immediately obvious coming through the lens of the camera is how bright these LEDs are. The first time I plugged it in, I literally had like mild retinal scarring. These LEDs are exceedingly bright inside of these keys. And something else that's maybe that is immediately noticeable is how thin the keycaps themselves are. They've gone for like a very small, like chiclety kind of keycap, which is interesting in of itself. It doesn't really shroud the switch at all and bottoms out pretty normally. The stabilizer has also been done a little bit uniquely. If I just take off the spacebar here, which is really easy to remove, one of the big pluses of the system that they've employed, but these are actually free, and the stabilizer itself is running through the back of the keyboard, which is kind of incredible in of itself. It does make it, or does give it at least, quite a unique sort of feel. I believe the key actually sits over there like that. There we go. It gives it quite a unique feel, but it's very linear, which is the good part. It doesn't really like shake from side to side. I mean, if I do that, it's maybe 0.5 millimeter. The other stabilizers sound pretty much the same, but you notice keys without stabilizers sound very different. It also does give a bit of a ting because it is an aluminium backplate, so while the keycap itself is not hitting the backboard, it does, you can't really hear it, but it is there. There's like a little bit of a ting effect from the aluminium. The key set itself and the layout is like quite split up. The keys are a little bit further than they would be normally. That wasn't a problem with typing, to be very honest with you. Touch typing was very quick to pick that up. I had no problems there. But what I did run into a little bit while gaming was that the control and shift, especially control, it feels like really far over on the side. It didn't really affect my performance though, and I still did give the boys and girls a little oh but a wee. I just won. Earn your victory. I've got one running. Good kill. Sorry boys, you came against the best and you just couldn't stand up to the test. The unique traits and features don't really stop there. The volume as well, this is the first time in a long time that I've actually seen someone execute it as a dial on the top over here. And if you just hit this FX button, then it goes to the lighting profile itself, and then will start to affect that when you have the software installed. The software as well just being a highlight. I think the Roccat Swarm is some of the best software that I've ever used. It feels really good as well. Like it's got like a lot of like positive feedback. You can feel each click of the dial very, very well as you do it. And these buttons on top here feel very satisfying, to be very honest with you. And they light up nicely. Like this is shaping up to be a really nice keyboard. They've moved the indicator lights onto the bottom over here underneath the numpad, which is also nicely unique. It's just taking it away from being on top. I mean, they're still there and you'll still know what you're doing based on those indicator switches, but just having the lights moved over to the bottom is kind of nice. Wrist rest as well is very comfortable. It's very slim. It is magnetically attached, so there's no clips or any funny bits and stuff that'll break on it in the near future, which is quite nice, being a 3000 rand keyboard. You'd hope that nothing is set up to break. Moving on the back of the keyboard, it's pretty standard, except for these big old rubber strips that go along the bottom over here, and then if you kick up the feet, then those have rubber strips on the bottom of them over there. One height sort of fits all in this instance, but I found the kickstand setup to be extremely comfortable. Before we go do the software, just the last note is this keycap, or these switches themselves. So I pulled off the keycap and immediately noticed that there was absolutely no branding on the keycap. Went onto the site and they say it's their proprietary Titan switch. Linear feedback is very good. It is extremely linear. There is like the play in this keycap is some of the least that I've ever experienced. Even cherries honestly have more play, side to side play, than this. This is one of the most linear feedback areas that I've found, and because the actuation distance is only 1.4 millimeters with the total travel being 3.6, it does activate halfway down the bump, so key presses and stuff feel very reactive. Now, being in the dark and not seeing anything on there, I immediately took a picture and sent it off to the keyboard wizard, a good friend of mine who literally builds 27,000 keyboards a year, because he's got a problem with it the same way that I've got a problem with mice. So I sent him the keycap and I said, well, the switch picture of it, and I was like, dude, what actually is this? And he was like, this looks very similar to a TTC key, which is not a bad thing, to be honest. And if the Titan is based off of that, at least they've come from a good foundation. All in all though, on the physical presentation of the keyboard, they've created something extremely unique, which I quite like. But anyway, before we do any conclusions, let's go and flex some of that Roccat Swarm software. Alrighty, so software time. Just excellence once again. General settings, this was kind of funny because every time you type, you can have a sound effect coming out of the thing, which I could actually see a huge use for if you're on a retro gaming system and you've got that feature enabled, and every time you press a button it'll pew like a laser, which is absolutely fantastic. You can reset all your settings, which is probably one of the best buttons to have in this sort of thing. Repeat rate, click cursor blink rate, repeat delays, a lot of customization even in that amount. But I think this is where everybody's kind of interested in the magic happening. Now, literally every single key except this one, this is the only one that you can't touch, is this game mode key, but every single key on this keyboard can be remapped to whatever you want. You can literally just go from the drop down list, and then you can, one of the nicer things is this easy shift function. So shift A can be something, shift S, or whatever the case is. You can change it as you need to, and then you've got a macro set up on a key. Basically, this is a 105 key keyboard, 104 key keyboard. You can have 103 different settings plus another 103 per profile. That's a lot. That's a lot of macroing. What I really like as well is this drag and drop function. So as you hover over it, you can select, do you want to have it on the easy shift or do you want to have it on the normal key itself? So obviously if we then go for the normal shift, then you can just do the macro straight like that, and then you can just drag that macro onto other areas. They've got a huge amount of basic functions and Roccat functions and system and OS functions and internet functions and multimedia functions, and then all the open up of applications, computer, calculator, folders, you name it, it's in here. And you can do it in a list, or you can do it based on the layout. This is an incredible amount of stuff. And then you can macro for specific games. So War Thunder, you can have those ones. You don't have to remap, basically you don't have to remap your keys in game, because you could just remap the keyboard to those keys. It puts the power back in your hands on another level. Plus then there's the AIMO stuff, which is always good. So if you activate that, then it takes over control of all your things. So as you can see, I've had the Elo Air and the Burst Pro, which it remembers were items in my system that it can then light up with and take control of the lighting and do the things. And then you just hit and apply, and then it's activated. But if you don't want to do it like that and you want to have it auto apply, you got that option as well. There's an option for everything. There's a layer for everything. Roccat software is some of the sickest I've ever seen. Anyway, back to the studio. As you can quite rightly see, this is just another absolutely sick product from Roccat. And I say that I personally don't wouldn't get it just because of how the keys are separated and stuff. But what I really like is that it's unique. It's not a product that fits in the same mold as every other keyboard and every other, you know, peripheral out there at the moment. All of us have used a Cherry MX or something to that effect. If we've had, you know, a mechanical keyboard at some point, we've used these sort of things. And at that point in time, it really becomes about like your LED backlighting and your extras. This is a completely different package from anything else that's out there. It's completely unique in of itself. I do feel, however, Roccat has kind of missed the market in some terms. This is extremely premium, extremely pricey. It does have all the feature sets and incredible build quality and all the right things as far as that goes. It's just that underneath this is their mechanical, which looks incredible, but I just can't help but feel it would have been improved if you had, you know, spent the $20 on a keycap, like even a Gator in red, throw that in there, and you've suddenly got a really competitive keyboard at the price point. If you want to get mechanical in Roccat, this is your only option right now. It's a really good one, really unique one, really cool. It's just, well, it's 3,000 South African rands. One last thing to note before I go is the Roccat competition is still ongoing. Evetech has literally made it as easy as humanly possible to enter. All you got to do is go and have a look there on the socials, guess the product, and then tag 2 friends, and you'll be entered into the competition. That's only culminating at the end of the month, so there's still plenty of time to get involved. Anyway, that is all I have for you today. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit us up with a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the flip side. Oh, but